Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Divination event, in which the Chiron is added to the game. Also, happy Valentine's Day everyone, hope you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Anyways, let's get into all the things that we have going on this week, all the teams for everything, and go from there. The most notable one is maybe Patch. We could be getting Patch in the next few weeks. It's most likely on Tuesdays, which means today could be the day, though it will likely be another week or two from now, but there's a non-zero chance there is one today. Anyways, as far as the Glory Troop is concerned, he is unfortunately kind of bad. He is yet another thing that creates Spirit Gem, which are really strong. Spirit Gems are insanely good. The biggest issue is any Spirit Gem creator that does not have Mana Drain immunity itself, or Bless to counter it, is going to be in a very weird position because their own ability could potentially go and mana drain themselves. So even though he can mana generate back into himself, he can also miss and, well, have no way to protect himself. He has no mana drain immunity, he has no bless, so he has no way to protect himself from his own mana drain of the spirit gems that he creates. If he did have something like that, this could definitely be a little bit more enticing. But the fact that he lacks it makes this pretty much, if you miss with his ability, just auto-lose. So it's not really worth using. In all fairness, a lot of troops that create 8/8 aren't really too worth using, with a few exceptions like Vinoxia and the such. However, for the most part, you probably don't want to end up using them. There's going to be better things like a Spirit Gems mechanic over the course of this event weeks. So I'd probably just hold off and just kind of wait until we get a slightly better option. Of course, we already had one with the Empower the other week, so you can just end up using that until we get another decent one. Unfortunately, he is not that. Anyways, as far as the event key drop table is concerned, we of course have the good old Divinion Fields, and with Divinion Fields, it's probably a pretty skippable week. As far as what is not in the drop table, this includes the 4 faction troops, and oddly enough, I think that's it, actually. Just the 4 faction troops, of course, from that of the Wild Court. Where's one? Oh, right there. Also, a really good one at that. But anyways, as far as things that are actually good in this drop table, I would say you're mostly just looking for Centurion if you don't already have one. He's pretty much like the option to use if you're looking for a wild card option. Most of the other things that create wild cards just aren't really too enticing, but he is really insanely good, particularly with a skull spammer. So you basically just spam all your skulls, convert all of them over, get an infinite mana, and just do it again. That's pretty much Centurion's premise, and it also has a Devour rate on top of that, which will synergize even better with skull spam. So overall, really great option, and probably the only particularly good thing here. We're getting an Adana rework in the somewhat near future. And one thing that could also really use a rework, of course that's going to rework mechs and humans slightly. However, centaurs are very bad typing. Probably one of the worst typings currently within the game. As far as troop types, they're definitely bottom 5 for sure, maybe even bottom 3. I just don't have much synergy with each other, and there just aren't too many good ones. If you're looking for a good centaur, the Mythic Worldbreaker is okay. He suffers from a little bit too high of a mana cost, but what he does is good. A bunch of mana accumulation into doing damage to all enemies while being able to even scale slightly. But it's just not good enough, and it's too high of a mana cost to really be viable. If he does end up getting a buff like Vespera, where it ends up getting from like a 30 mana cost down to 26 or something similar, he would definitely get a bit more usage. But until then, it's just a very underwhelming drop table that you're pretty much just only opening for if you're looking for Centurion or just getting stuff for completionist purposes in order to get additional stars onto Divinion Fields. Divinion Fields, as of this week, can end up reaching what seems to be 26 stars. So you can end up reaching that for all the additional rewards up to that point if you so choose, but otherwise there isn't too much of incentive to go for the event keys. So as far as the event, it is a very straightforward world event. Luckily for once, we have access to both skull damage and spell damage, which is nice. So you're primarily probably just going to be going down the spell damage route. As far as teams that we can end up using here, we do have access to 2 main core teams here. We have the good old just run AoE spam, as you would normally do, but one that is really worth considering. If you buy tier 4 or tier 5, or even higher than that, you will have access to the one-shot Blade Dancer, which is insanely strong. If you're buying the lower amount of tiers, like the bare minimum to get your guild down, you might want to stick with more of an AoE-based team. However, if you did buy tier 4 or deeper, you are probably going to want to do the one-shot Blade Dancer. If you have 2 full medals, for the buff, for the magic damage, he will just absolutely tear through everything due to his armor boost ratio. There are some exceptions to that, like there's one battle that has like a super high HP legend and stuff like that, which he might eventually stop one-shotting. However, for the most part, a good majority of the things within these battles, he will be able to one-shot the entire way, or at least most of the way through. So definitely worth considering if you end up buying deeper. Otherwise, you probably just want to stick with more of just AoE spam, just whatever you have, and just win off of that. And that's pretty much the game plan. As far as what room you don't want to take, just don't take Hobgoblin. As long as you're not taking Hobgoblin, you're taking the correct room. So just ignore those and just keep taking whatever appears. It's not kind of any kind of shuffling system, so you're eventually just going to be doing the same room over and over and over again, and just keep clicking over and over again at the same spot. So pretty straightforward world events, which is nice. As far as the faction, or as far as the events, I mean, going on this week, we have the faction event, of course, going on right now. Wild Court. This is a very, very easy one. As far as the color is a red, green, if I'm not mistaken. But you have access to the Wild, what's his name? Wild something something. But he basically just solos the whole thing on pure faction. Wild, gosh, I can't remember his name. You know what? The easy way to get there? Let's just go to Wild Court. And he's just sitting there. Of course, we have the team fort, which we'll be showing in a little bit. But that's all you need for your team to win pure faction. Just a single Wild Knight, or 2, or 3, or 4. Normally, just put a bunch of legends behind it. But Wild Knights is so easy for this faction. As far as the pure faction anyways. For going up to there, obviously you want to use like Rowan, Quick Kill, and other stuff. But as far as once you reach the end, he's just so good. He's among one of the best things for just destroying a faction. He explodes your gem, so you have board control. He gains a bunch of life and attack, so he never dies, and gains extra damage, so you speed up the battle. And he gains barrier every single time, which means you'll be able to get most of his mana back and just keep going into it. You get the Hunter's Mark thing, you have the score reduction. He's just insanely, absurdly good at running a faction down. And that makes his pure faction among one of the easier ones within the entire game, which is pretty nice. Anyways, aside from that, other events that we have going on this week, Wednesday, don't forget, of course, it is Valentine's Day. And tomorrow we are getting the Valentine's Day pet for 2023. I believe we might, though not confirmed, but maybe might be having a Valentine's Day pet this Saturday as well. So definitely keep an eye out for that in case it does end up happening. As it is pretty common after one of these, that one of the older ones come in. But this is the one for 2023, basically a box of chocolates with like a tentacle or tongue or whatever you call that. But we have that Oracle class on Thursday, which unfortunately, due to Centaurs being so weak, it is also a very weak hero class. And then on Friday, we do indeed have ourselves a useless arena event. We do have more Vault events coming soon. However, this weekend will be an arena event, basically meaning we have no event this weekend. Anyways, as far as Soulforge, nothing too enticing. Main noteworthy thing, I guess, would be... Oh, where'd it go? I saw it here earlier. Uminif's okay. Main thing with Uminif is once you have Zul'Goth, you almost never use her again. But it's like alternative Zul'Goth. It can definitely be strong in some circumstances. I've definitely lost to it still in the current state of the game. Actually, last Guild War I think we did, or at least very close to it. Got a lot of value. But it's still very strong. Generally, you almost never use it compared to Zul'Goth once you own Zul'Goth. But there are some niche situations where it can actually get more value than a Zul'Goth due to its higher competence with skulls, or at least more immediate competence with skulls, since it scales a lot quicker compared to Zul'Goth. Even though Zul'Goth gains a bunch of stats, this thing gains attack at a slightly quicker rate, also having Skull Dodge, whereas the other one has Impervious, and also has Hunter's Mark to apply even more skull damage. So there are some rare circumstances where it is better than a Zul'Goth, but in like 98% of situations, you are just running Zul'Goth instead, even though it is a Zul'Goth alternative, and even better than it in niche opportunities. But I would say one of the bigger ones is probably Ishtara. Ishtara has, but it still doesn't trigger off its own bless, but it does have its own capability of blessing your entire team. But you could also offset it by having something else on your team. And basically it just end up spamming 12 yellow onto the board while doing full AoEs. Definitely not the best of the things they can end up doing this. Quatzelma, I feel like, does it slightly better, but it is a great way to end up doing it with a dragon if you so choose to, and has some score reduction to go with it. But overall, I would say it's a pretty skippable week as far as mythics are concerned. Definitely not must-have, just kind of like really mid-tier utility troops. As far as what's available. One thing that you definitely want to consider getting, though, is Doomed Chronicle, also known as Purple Book, but or Purple Tome. But this thing, of course, if you've ever played Purple Guild War, or just Guild War in general, or stepped foot into the game mode, you know that pretty much everyone runs Book later in the game. And so you can do so as well. Just get the book. If you don't have the scrolls for it, just wait until you get a Purple Forging, and you can farm those during Vault events, or just get lucky from a major orb, and boom, you're good to go. So, yeah, definitely highly advise getting this. It's going to be quite time before you can end up getting again. If not mistaken, it's been about a year and a half since Divinion Fields has had an event. If I'm not mistaken, it's been a very long time. Maybe not that long. I know it's been a long while. So, if you've been missing Purple Book, 100% make sure you do not leave this week without it. It is a very high priority weapon to get. Even though it's pretty much only used for Purple Guild War Defense, it is still an insanely good option to get for that option. And is basically best in slot for running Purple Guild War Defense. Anyways, aside from that, nothing really too special here unless you're looking for like a Divinion Fields kind of explodey weapon or gem creating weapon. Of course, both Divinion Fields and Centaurs are pretty underwhelming in the current state of the game, and by the time they get a rework, they're probably going to have another event anyway, so you could just end up getting the weapons then. So I would say the only real priority here is to get Doomed Chronicle, and you can pretty much ignore the rest until they eventually rework Divinion Fields, which with how many Kingdom reworks they've been doing lately, but the next one going for Donna, there's a decent possibility that we will be getting one for the Centaurs within the next year or two, possibly even this year, so definitely keep an eye out for it, but for the most part, you can just get those weapons then, so just Doomed Chronicle. Anyways, let's go into a bunch of teams, all of which will be in the description below if you want to go and utilize any of them. Let's start all the way from the top and go to our world event, same one that we had as our first team over there. We just have Double King Mikhail into Dawnbringer, and we have a Gimlet here just to feed us a little bit of brown. But there's also, oddly enough, actually has some synergy into him, not just from the brown, but he also enrages your first ally, well, King Mikhail, actually does more damage if it is enraged, so you'll end up getting slightly more damage onto your AoE. That's not too big a deal, you're mostly just looking to spam it out and get the mana there, but a little bit extra bonus value, which is nice. Next one we have is the Blade Dancer team. Actually, I'm not sure why I would put the second Blade Dancer here. You're generally not going to need it. You're mostly just looking for like Blade Dancer, Weapon, Moonsinger, and like one other utility, whatever you kind of want to use here. But you can go double Blade Dancer if you feel like you're not going to kill. The problem is the second Blade Dancer doesn't do nearly as much damage, especially if you already tore through all the armor, which in most situations is going to be the case. Keep in mind, you probably only want to do the Blade Dancer team if you... also, both of these are kind of a low team, by the way, this week. Both of them don't really require too much as far as higher rarity stuff. This one's definitely a little bit easier, however, Blade Dancer with only one fully maxed metal does not do nearly enough as it needs. You kind of need the double max metal, and if you bought super deep into it, go in triple max metal for sure. But overall, you're mostly only using Blade Dancer if you can go for the one-shot. Otherwise, you're just using in the very early range to end up doing your one-shots, but it does eventually fall off if you only have one metal. But we'll keep going pretty much the entire way if you have two metals, and definitely the entire way if you have three metals set. So you're mostly just Moonsingering into a Blade Dancer with a cleanup weapon is essentially what this team is. You can replace this weapon with anything you have. I happen to just put the Cursebreaker weapon here, as it is among one of the better options. However, you can replace it out for any cheap weapon you so choose. Though do keep in mind it does have to be yellow to be able to fit within the event. Next up, we have our green-red restriction faction for the low-level range. Though if you put our Scale Shield here, you can run it the entire way. Of course, your weapon for factions are allowed to be any color you wish. So Black Manacle and stuff like that can be used, or Scale Shield, all that. But basically, a standard Rowan team, you cast Leprechaun. Mirage Queen already gives half mana to your Rowan, and then you just cast Rowan and then win. You could go a Scale Shield to buff the Rowan, or some kind of weapon to assist in the damage for Rowan, either or that you want to do it in. For the higher range, we're basically going a High King Iron Gut and using Fiend Fire as our curse option. A really great option as far as cursing, ends up dealing damage to all enemies. Also curses and burns all enemies, so you could even get that triple damage burn boost ratio. However, we are using it particularly for Archmages just to get mana a little bit easier, so we can invest completely into Marilith for the +3, since it has +1 off a Leprechaun and the other +2 from the banner. It also has a +1 red, but unfortunately, ever since they got rid of that +2/+2 banner, we can't run that anymore, which is a bit of a nerf to Marilith, but still useful in this context since we can't run Angry Mob there, as it'll be blocked on brown, so we'd have to go directly into red and be kind of clunkier. But yeah, unfortunately, ever since they nerfed that double banner, we can't get the +3 red, +3 green into Marilith, so in this case, we just went for the +3 green in hopes that that will end up working out for us. Anyways, as far as Pure Faction is concerned, I kind of already mentioned it briefly earlier, but basically Wild Knight solos the entire thing. You don't even need more than a single Wild Knight. The rest of the team is just for the sake of putting things there, because why not? But yeah, you can run 4 Wild Knights, 3 Wild Knights, 2, 1. You only need 1. And it's going to live. It's going to live pretty much the entire time. Unless you get really unlucky with a Skull Spam or super early on in the game with lower stats. And even then, you might still be able to live just because of how tanky and bulky it is. But I just put 3 Wendigos behind it. This is mostly just a damage pressure a little bit. He's not that good, but he's better than having nothing there. So yeah, he's pretty much just here for a little bit of damage support. But your entire team, like 99% of the team, is just Wild Knight. Every turn you do is just trying to get optimal Wild Knight into position. Keep spamming him, one-shotting everything with skulls, or two-shotting everything with skulls. Perpetually being barriered, having board control, auto-winning. It's probably one of the strongest, like relative to being able to use for a faction event, it is probably the single strongest faction troop in the entire game from a in-faction premise. Obviously, outside of faction, it gets outclassed by other tanks in the game, but particularly within a faction, it is arguably the strongest faction troop in the game for running a pure faction. Obviously, you can only run it specifically for this pure faction, but still, it is a very, very, very great option. And aside from that, Oracle class event this Thursday, unfortunately, we are restricted to Centaurs from Divinion Fields, so we can't run like a bunch of Atlantas. However, you can go down the Herdmaster route. He gets a bunch of air links, which isn't as good as Atlanta AoE, but it does allow you to mana accumulate as well as cleanse. And we're basically just going into just a spam black manacle build. You could put one other damage source if you really want to, either in front of or behind the Herd Masters. But in this particular premise, we're just looking to quick kill with black manacle in order to claim the free 25 gems from the Thursday class event. Anyways, guys, that's a full rundown on everything. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day if you're celebrating. And I will catch all of you guys later. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.